Well, good morning everyone. I guess you're wondering what this weird channel is that's appeared in your subscription list. So if you've been following Tales from the Doghouse, then the new channel that you've got there is basically the same channel. We've just changed the name. The reason we changed the name is we've bought a new boat. So our new boat is called Nariki. She's a Beneteau Cyclades 50.4. So basically the 0.4 means it's a 4-cabin version. So I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but the Cyclades range of Beneteaus was aimed fairly and squarely at the charter market. They're a big volume boat. Obviously with 4 cabins, they can carry a lot of people. And they've got pretty big volume holding capacity of fuel and water. Good refrigeration, so it's a great boat. So we cruised all last season, pretty much lived aboard the Doghouse, our Dufour 365 Grand Large, with no problems really at all, apart from one little toilet issue. It was just a little bit on the tight side when you've got all your live aboard stuff on there with you. So we ummed and ahed about a new boat, and while we were down on the central coast of New South Wales over Christmas, we saw a boat come on the market, and that was this boat Nariki. It was down in Pittwater, very close by where we live, and we decided to go and have a look at it, and straight away we could see the bones of a beautiful live aboard cruising boat there. So yeah, so we ended up buying it in March, and we've spent the last few months fitting it out, and we're actually off cruising at the moment. We've just started our trip north. We're actually in Queensland at the moment, but I thought we might start off, before we show you our trip north, we might just do a quick tour around the boat and give you a bit of a look at what we've bought. So sit back and enjoy our beautiful new boat, Nariki. Nariki is a Beneteau Cyclades 50.4. So basically a 50-footer, 4-cabin, built for the charter market originally. This one's done a bit of time in charter, I suspect, but it's had the front 2 cabins modified, the middle walls taken out, and it's now a 3-cabin boat with one huge V-berth. I'll show you that later, but let's have a bit of a look around the deck here first. So you can see there's plenty of deck space around here for walking around the deck, up on the cabin top. Got a life raft, not in service currently, but there is one. There's also another cover over here which basically goes over the top of the dodger, clips on under the boom, attaches to the bimini, but we've changed the setup a little bit, so probably don't really need that quite so much now. Just got our boom tied off with a couple of ratchet straps just to stop it swinging around side to side here. And basically we're set up at the moment in sailing mode. So this blue rope down here is our that's our preventer. It basically comes back to a jammer down the back of the boat there, and yeah, we just run it up through some pulleys up on the deck here. You can see the way I've got these pulleys set up is that I've just got them on a loop of line that just feeds through the cleat over the ends. So it's just held in place with that, and a bit of shock cord just to keep it up off the deck. The idea of doing that is that firstly they're removable. Secondly, I don't need to drill any holes in the deck in order to fit them. But also I can still use the cleat when we go to tie up over the top. So that's how we've done that. I've got a tweaker system set up here for the spinnaker, or even for poling the headsail. Yeah, same sort of thing. Just got the loop of line running down around the cleat here. So in the black and white one at the moment, we've just got that set up just to pole the headsail. I find sometimes it's a nicer angle to run that right down to the back of the boat. Yeah, so basically lots of deck space up here. We've actually got a little crew cabin here too, so down inside here, I'll see if I can open it up for you, give you a look. So this is the crew cabin down here. I'm not sure if it's going to be bright enough to be able to see what's going on, but it's basically just another storage locker. It's got like a little bunk in here that we've got our spinnaker on at the moment. And initially it had a toilet and a little basin underneath that bunk. So the idea was if you had a professional skipper on board with you in the charter industry, he could sleep up here, and the rest of the crew got the main cabin area to live in. Yeah, it's just got a little ladder that runs down in there, so it's quite a handy little spot for keeping a bit of stuff. I'm hoping we can launch our spinnaker out of here, but we'll see how that all pans out. So then we've got our anchor locker here. It's basically sort of segregated a little bit. All the chains on one side there, it goes down right down underneath there into a right down into the forepeak sort of thing. And then this side over here it's got a few ropes in it. It's got the one of the controllers for the electric windlass, and then it's a bit of storage area for some ropes and stuff like that. We put our hoses in here, our snubbers, and a couple of the mooring lines get thrown in there. We've had installed in here also a deck wash, which we can flick from fresh to salt, and the hose just fits up into here. It's one of those expandable hoses, very cool, and constricts down to virtually nothing. This is the hose here. It's this sort of material. Yeah, so it expands out. Yeah, it's pretty cool setup. Got some brand new chain. Originally when we got the boat it had 13mm chain. It was all pretty rusty, a bit of overkill, so we've gone back to 10mm. We've got 110 meters of it in there. That was still significantly lighter than the 13mm chain that was in here originally. So yeah, got some nice fresh chain in there. Basically the anchor motor's all set up, the anchor windlass is all set up under the deck here. It's all electric. We've also got a remote controller for it, so pretty cool little remote. It operates the anchor up and down. It can also operate the bow thruster, so if you're pulling the anchor up by yourself and the bow's laying off to one side, you can actually use the bow thruster from the remote controller. It's very cool. Yeah, so furling headsail, obviously. It's not a huge headsail, it's like 100%, I believe. It goes back just to the mast and that's about all. So it's quite an easy system to operate. I can actually pull the headsail on and off quite comfortably by myself, and yeah, it's nice and easy. Got the double bow rollers there, and the little seat up the front here, the dolphin watching seat. Then up on the bow roller, it's got one of those sort of, I don't know what you call those things, but it's like a bow roller that tips up and down to it's like a self-launching roller, I believe, something like that. And then there's a little ring that's been welded on there that we use to attach the asymmetrical kite. So yeah, nice little setup here. And then we've got our pole set up here at the moment too. Just have it up on deck ready to go because it's kind of heavy. It's easier to launch it if we have it set up on the mast already when we're sailing. So at the moment we use the spinnaker halyard here for the topping lift, and I've just rigged up a bit of a pulley set up down here that we run the downhaul for the pole through. Again, it's just looped on back here at the cleat, and then I actually put this end of that line over onto the cleat on the other side, which centralizes that turning pulley, and then that just runs right back to we're actually tied off on a cleat right in the back corner of the boat. That just stabilizes the pole, stops it bouncing up and down. The blue rope here is our preventer, so that's just, again, it's just running down through the pulley just here behind the anchor, and then runs back down to the back of the boat through a pulley over and the widest point on the boat, just to sort of get a nice line back to the jammer. Yeah, so it works out pretty good. Obviously our bag for the mainsail, There's another cover that goes around the front for longer term storage, but yeah, it's just a little boom bag, and it all seems to work pretty good. No solid bang on this boat, which I would really prefer, because it does control the boom. We had a little learning curve where we accidentally let the topping lift for the boom off, and it came down crunching down on top of the spray dodger. But that's one of those things you do it once and then try to remind yourself not to do that again. And then yeah, got a couple of barge boards here. We've got some fuel tanks. We've got an old gas bottle we've just got to get rid of soon, so we've just got that sitting in the bag so it doesn't rust all over the deck. But got our fenders tied up to it. No car pullers on this boat. We've just got the manual adjustment sort of arrangement here. Got our jack stays set up, running down to the back here. So we've got gates on either side for the entry and exit off the boat. And the previous owner, Santiago, had a couple of these put on, which basically fold out. The idea of that is, I think you put your paddleboard in there. So that's a nice little arrangement as well. So we spent a bit of money on some new covers for this boat. The old Dodger was in pretty poor condition, so we've got a brand spanking new spray dodger with some strata glass in it. It's beautiful for clarity, very nice. And then we had an infill sheet made connecting to the old bimini. So the old bimini looks a bit funny on top, but that's because I've treated it with a wax material that I make up myself. So it's made out of 1 kilo of beeswax, a litre of linseed oil, and a litre of gum turpentine. You melt it all together, let it cool down in some little party cups, and it makes like surfboard wax style stuff. You rub it all over the covers. And it's an old treatment they used to use on saddles, apparently, that an old fellow told me about. So it seems to work pretty good. So yeah, so we've got a new infill sheet there, and then hanging off the infill sheet we've got both clears and we've got some shades as well. So at the moment it's still a little bit cool, so the shades are been put away for the time being, but certainly in summer in Queensland they'll be the go-to. So very handy to keep the breeze off the clears at the moment. So then up the back there, over the top of the bimini, you can see we've got 3 400-watt solar panels and a silent wind generator. So we seem to be doing really well so far with the charging. We've got 4 165 amp hour AGM batteries, so that seems to be covering everything pretty good. We're running 2 fridges, well basically a fridge and a freezer that are on the boat, plus a Brass Monkey portable fridge, and also charging obviously our laptops and our phones and iPads, running all the instruments. We've got a plotter, 2 little multifunction displays, and the autopilot. So it's running all of that stuff at times, and so far we haven't actually had to put the motor on to charge. We've done a little bit of motoring obviously on a few days, and that charges it up a bit, but yeah, it's been pretty good. We've also got a genset on board, so it's got an Onan 7 kVA genset, so charging wires, heating water, got that all covered too. So very nice arrangement, very comfortable setup. Yeah, so far we're very happy with the boat, how it's all been performing. It's still all pretty new to us. We literally had 1 test sail and 1 little joy sail for half an hour in less than 10 knots of breeze both times, and then our first sail was pit water to cost pretty much. So there's been a bit of a learning curve, but we've sailed for many years, so it wasn't too bad. Same basics, just different boats, so just got to learn all the intricacies of all the new boats. So, but yeah, she's a work of art, this thing. I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's the cockpit of our Cyclades 50.4. So basically it's got a open transom design. It's obviously a aft cockpit. Open transom design, central cockpit table here, and obviously the leaves fold out on either side. Bit of storage in there. You could make the central area into an ice box. It's just got a couple of little lids that lift up. We've just got storage in there at the moment. Yeah, but very comfortable, nice long saloon seats. So plenty of room for lying around in. Sam's got a little cushion set up in here so that we can chill out when we're at sea. It's actually a pretty comfy spot to sleep at night too, when you're just chilling with the skipper, whoever's on watch. You can just lay back there and still be part of the game. Twin wheels, obviously. Princess seats. Princess has got her beanbag in her side. I've just got my cushion in the other side here. And obviously we've got our cockpit clears here so you can see them set up. They don't go all the way down to the deck. We don't mind having a little bit of breeze flowing through underneath them. Doesn't really wet the cockpit so much. And then across the back, you can see we've got some shades rolled up there as well. So that's just shade cloth style material. Because there's a little bit of overhang with our bimini and our solar panels up here, we get a fair bit of protection from the back from that. So we figured that just having shades there might be enough. If we had a following breeze and it was raining, we'd probably still get away with that pretty comfortably. I've made up my little custom rod holders, hold all our fishing rods in place. Works out pretty nice. It's an easy access up out of the way. So that's got all the overhead reels down one end, all the spinning reels, threadline reels at the other. And obviously we've got our dinghy davits here as well. It just lifts the dinghy up. We've got them all tied up here at the moment, but yeah, the dinghy obviously just sits down below there. Hook the davit system up. You can probably see the bright green ropes on the dinghy there. They all clip onto the various attachment points, and we can lift the dinghy up. So it's a pretty good little setup. Couple of rod holders, very comfy. So over in the steering station here, come and sit up in the skipper's seat. This is my little steering arrangement. So pretty nice. We used to have a compass in here, but the compass was a bit leaky and crappy, so took that out, put a little charging output there. Basically just flip, so you can have your phone charging up. It's got a USB-C and a normal USB, old school USB. I can set my iPad up here so I can have Navionics running on this, and then I've got the plotter over on the other side there. Got a couple of displays on this side. Got the i70 here. This is the just a multi-function display. You can set up your various different pages to however you want to configure them. Yeah, it's a good setup. And then the P70 here is the autopilot controller. So yeah, it's pretty handy there. And then obviously we've got a second station for the VHF here as well. Yeah, got the plotter up here. So obviously the plotter's on a rotatable mount. So if I'm sitting over here in the chilling out seat under the pre-dodger, I can can keep an eye on the plotter from there as well. So, and I can also turn the obviously turn the iPad around, have that facing back the other way if I need to as well. So yeah, no, it's a nice setup. Basically a nice big table, wings fold right out both sides, and got the saloon doors there. So here's a good setup. Got an electric winch up top on this side, and just a standard winch on the other side. So Sam's got a bit of her she's trying to grow some herbs at the moment, doing pretty good on a few of them, not so good on the coriander. So if anyone's got any good tips on growing coriander on a boat, let us know. So just a nice rack of jammers. See the spray dodger's got a nice big window in it, so we can unzip that whole central window out of there to let plenty of breeze through. Nice visibility via the strata glass in there, so it's great. Very comfortable little setup. Just the two winches, manual winches for the headsail or the spinnaker, whichever you happen to be running. We mount our outboard up here on the bracket when we're at sea on the longer passages. Yeah, pretty cool arrangement. Got the cockpit shower going down the bottom there. Speakers, very comfy. Some nice big cockpit lockers as well. I'll show you the other side, might be easier. They're quite big volume lockers in here. It goes right back underneath at the back there. Yeah, it's a nice setup. Very happy with it. So I'll just go down into the saloon now. Okay, so there we have it. Nice big spacious saloon. Lots of storage along the back there. Some big cupboards down below here too. So 3-burner stove with an oven underneath. Double sink. It's got this nice central sort of servery area there. And then back here is our freezer. That's got a very big freezer. That's basically most of the depth of that cabinet you can see there is all freezers. So this is the fridge under here. Nice big deep well again. Lots of storage space down there. All these cupboards hold a bit of storage area. They're all fairly deep. We've got a microwave in behind this one. Yeah, nice area. Got fans. Obviously opening ports here as well. Sam's just made up some nice curtains for those. The other ones are a little bit old, so done a great job with those. And then the other side has, again, opening ports. The one above the nav table here doesn't open. This one up here, this one doesn't open, but it's probably a good thing. Then basically we've just got our switchboard, sound system. Had a few new circuits put in up here. And then we've got our VHF radio, inverter charger panel. This is the controller for the anchor that I was telling you about. That's got the bow thruster controller as well. Got all our charging cables here, EPIRB for the dinghy, just lives out here. Obviously the nav table, bit of storage underneath there as well. Got a bit of room, we've got an ice machine down underneath there we can pull out when we need it. And then we've just had the settee sort of recovered. It was the same sort of blue with white piping as upstairs there, but we like the look of this colour, so we've got that redone. Got the smart TV up in the corner. Yeah, more storage along the back there. So one thing I wanted to show you was just the amount of underfloor storage on this boat. So if you look carefully under here, you can see that all these wells under the floor are all super deep. If I lift this thing up just to give you a bit of an idea of the depth. That's sort of the depth of the floor under here. So it's probably 16 inches deep, which is really good. most of the floor wells, basically all the saloon floor, the wells in the aft cabins, and yeah, basically even up in the front cabin, all the wells under there, they've all got storage underneath. There's a couple of these ones just here have got a few water tanks under them, but all these other wells under here have all got basically lots and lots of storage. And then we've also got all the storage along in the saloon here, basically both sides of the galley here. We've got drawers at the top and then cupboards down the bottom on this side. Obviously over at the other side where the galley is, more cupboards up front. Big deep one here. I open this up for you, get an idea of the depth. That goes back basically a full arm's length back in there. We actually thought some drawers would be handier there, but anyway, very cool amount of storage everywhere on here. And then basically on this side you've just got your normal sort of drawers on the top, and then just normal cupboards down on the bottom level there. So lots and lots of storage available. Each one of those sort of cupboards down the bottom has all got storage, 2 levels. Yeah. So the boat also holds nearly 1,000 litres of water in 3 different water tanks, and it also carries 400 litres of fuel in 2 separate tanks. Here's our new super duper anchor windlass remote. You can see it's got a chain counter. It's in windlass mode at the moment, so you can use the up and down buttons to pull the chain up and down. And if your bow's blowing off to one side, you can hold the button in for a second. It goes into bow thruster mode, and then you can use the left and right buttons and push the bow which way you want to go to line it up with the anchor, and then basically just push the button again and you go back into windlass mode. Very cool. And then we've got basically double cabins at the back. As with most 3 cabin boats, one of them ends up being the garage, so we've got it all set up here, got all our crab traps and stuff in there. The control panel for the inverter and the shore power is over here on the wall. So we've just got a little bit of access to be able to get at that. The gen set's actually down, right down the back there behind that last panel. So we decided we'd dedicate this one to just being the garage, and then we've basically got the 2 aft heads. So this head here has got a manual toilet, which we kind of like the idea of, having had a problem with the electric toilet once before. It's nice to be able to fall back on the manual one. Then if we come around the other side, we've got the port side aft head. So both of the double cabins at the back had their own ensuite. Same arrangement, just got the vanity, electric toilet, and that's the holding tank in behind that cupboard. Yeah, works out pretty well. Okay, so then we come into the back cabin on the port side, and again it's just an aft double cabin, opening ports either side. It's also got a hatch up above, new screens in there, same as the other ones. Screen on one side, fly screen on the other. Fans, but there's also aircon, so there's a couple of ports in here either side. If it gets a bit hot, we can run the gen set and put the aircon on. The other thing here in the aft cabins is that you've actually got private access through into the heads. So you can use your own ensuite without having to go out into the saloon. Pretty cool. As I said, it was a charter boat, rigged up for 4 people. So we're just going to keep this as our guest cabin. And the other side can be our garage. So then we go forwards into the V-berth. As I said before, this V-berth is enormous. Remember I said it was a Cyclades 50.4. That means it's a 4 cabin boat. And this one used to be 2 aft cabins and 2 cabins up here in the V-berth. If you look really carefully up here, you can see that there's a central sort of slot which used to accommodate a wall. So this used to be 2 bunks. Both reasonable size ones, but now it is just one enormous one. It's actually at the base of the bed back here. It's actually 3 meters wide, so plenty of room in here. It's got a telly set up in the corner. Some nice big opening hatches up top. We've just installed some new screens on these, so it's basically a screen on one side or a fly screen on the other. So the old ones are a little worn out, so we've replaced all those. And then each of these front cabins both had an ensuite. So what they've done here is that on one side we've still got the normal ensuite. So it's got the toilet, obviously a wash basin, little cupboard, put a couple of new mirrors in as well. And then out on the other side, it's been converted into a dedicated shower. So the toilet and the holding tank got taken out of here, and they've just put in a dedicated shower. Still got the wash basin and mirror, but then it's just got a nice big sort of vanity cupboard then with lots of storage in there. Yeah, so super comfy. Very nice. So we actually use this cabin often after dinner. We'll bring the bean bags up and just prop them up against the wall at the back. And being winter at the moment, it's a bit cold, so we can get under the blankets and watch the telly. Pretty cool. Got fans, got a couple of charging points on either side. Yeah, it's very, very nicely set up. Got some 12 volt points, 240 volt outlets. Then it's got obviously a cupboard on either side. It's got these sort of open areas that run right back underneath the bunk there. We've just got some sort of soft-sided boxes and obviously some drawers here as well. So pretty good storage under there. There's also a bit of storage right underneath the bunk right at the front there. It's a bit harder to get at, but that's actually where we've got the motor for the bow thruster fitted. And any of the stuff that we've got on here that we don't really use very often, then we tend to use that as the storage spot for that.